What's up, everybody? This is your favorite barista of sports talk coming to you live and uncut, and as always, unfiltered. Well, I feel like probably most Eagles fans here in the city, it was a complete dud of a trading deadline. I believe the trading deadline for the NFL was a couple weeks ago. Prior to the deadline, it just so happened to be that today happened to be the deadline, forcing teams to make all these trades and transactions like you would see on hockey or in the NBA or in baseball. But for whatever reason, these old owners, old GMs, old coaches just don't want to do anything exciting in that aspect to add more viewerships and more fans to your sport and engage in a great trading deadline action packed day. Rather, we get the absolute opposite. But that's okay though. So I'm going to be, a voice of some reasoning here for some of us fans here in Philly because there's a lot of talk about, well, this is an old team, and we have to save our draft picks and we can't give up the first or second round draft picks, not even a third on top of that. And because we need to rebuild and get rid of this old team, and it's just like slow down with all that, pump the brakes a little bit. You know, once we start looking at some free agents here on our team and start digesting some of the ages with some of our guys here on this team, we'll see that, yeah, we're old in some positions, but we're not collectively an old team. We're really not. And then when you add in the free agents on top of that, that's going to push out some of these older guys as well. So making a trade and the room was there for it. We're sitting on top of, say, somewhere under 25 million right now. That's what we're sitting on. So we're good financially. And there was room for another guy or two guys to come in and add some juice to this team. Add into the player morale of our team. And that could have helped. That really could have helped. And instead, the team that decided that our trades and our transactions are going to be the guys that are out with injuries, coming back from those injuries, like a DeSean Jackson who hasn't played since week 1. We're going to add a speed receiver, a guy that we all wanted to trade for, but instead of making the trade, we'll just add our own guy because he's coming back from injury. We'll save all the time and hassle of trying to trade a draft pick and appeasing another team when we'll just go ahead and easily just add our own guy. We did it at the corner position. Jalen Mills comes back. Ronald Darby came back. Trayvon LeBlanc is going to come back. Maddox is going to come back. So that's 4 corners that are either back or will return at some time before the season's out. So that's 4 corners that for the most part of the season we haven't had. Now we're starting to see and understand how this team is operating. Same thing on our defensive line. We have guys out with injuries. Well, instead of going out and bringing in a bigger contract for possibly a better player, we'll just go ahead and wait for our guys to return. So we're going to do a little assignment tonight, because I heard all the chatter. So I'm going to disappear for a second. You still hear me. And I'm going to just run off some of the ages of some of these guys here on our team. As I run down, I'll start with Nelson Aguilar, 26. He's also a free agent at the end of the year. Whiteside's 22. He's a rookie. Denard Avery, we just traded for. He's 24 years old. Derek Barnett is 23 years old. Nigel Bradham is a 30-year-old free agent. Brandon Brooks, our starting right guard, is 30 years old. That's really not old for an offensive lineman. Fletcher Cox, our Hall of Famer, is 28 years old. That's not old for now the defensive line. Vinny Curry, a backup, is 31. He's a free agent. He signed a one-year deal with us this year. He's a good guy. We like him. He may come back next year. Ronald Darby, 25 years old, starting corner, free agent at the end of the year. Andre Dillard, 24 years old, rookie, our future starting left tackle. Rasul Douglas has played a lot of time due to guys being out with injuries. 25 years old. Linebacker TJ Edwards, undrafted rookie, 23 years old. Our place kicker and our kickoff guy, Jake Elliott, 24 years old. Zach Ertz, starting tight end, 28 years old. Rudy Ford, a guy that we traded for, a safety, a special teamer, 24 years old. Starting linebacker, Nathan Gary, 24 years old. Dallas Goedert, you can consider him a starting tight end, 24 years old. Brandon Graham, starting defensive end, 31 years old. Kamukuji Hill, starting outside linebacker, and he's a great special teamer. Free agent, 25 years old. Mac Hollins, another backup wide receiver, special teamer, 26 years old. Everyone's now loved running back here, Jordan Howard, is a free agent and 24 years old. Deshaun Jackson, 32 years old. We can get out of that contract next year. It's a lot easier than Alshon Jeffrey's contract. Craig James, the guy, the no-name in our secondary, 23 years old. Alshon Jeffrey, starting wide receiver, 29 years old. We can't get out of that contract because he has a guaranteed contract next year and it's above 20 million. So unless a team comes in that drastically eats a lot of that money on that contract, he's here guaranteed next year. Malcolm Jenkins already complaining for a new contract. Starting safety, 31 years old. Tim Jernigan, free agent, defensive tackle, is a starter, 27 years old. Starting right tackle, Lane Johnson, 29 years old. Again, that's young for an offensive lineman. Cameron Johnson, our punter, having a great year. What a find by our team. 27 years old. He can kick till he's 40. Sidney Jones, I'm going to just say the name, 23 years old. Starting center, Jason Kelsey, 31 years old. Avonte Maddox, 23 years old. Rodney McLeod, free agent at the end of the year because we restructured his deal this year, 29 years old. Starting safety. Jalen Mills, starting corner now, back from injury, 25 years old and a free agent at the end of the year. Jason Peters, left tackle, 37 years old. He'll be a coach with us next year when he retires. Matt Pryor, a backup center, guard, tackle, Mr. Everything, 24 years old. Duke Riley, who we just got in a trade, 25 years old, linebacker. Miles Sanders is only 22 years old. Boston Scott scored this week. He's only 24 years old. Andrew Sendeo, he plays in sub packages in our dimes as a safety. 32 years old, won't be here next year. Isaac Saamalo, starting left guard, 26 years old. Darren Sproles, always hurt, probably his last year here. 36 years old, so that comes immediately off next year. Nate Sudfeld is 26. Big V is 26. He's a free agent. And then Carson is 26 years old. So for everyone out there that's screaming, oh, this is an old roster. No, certain positions are old. And at certain positions, you can go a little longer in the tooth in age because of the position that you're playing. A right tackle can play till he's 35, 36, 37 years old, pending injuries and all that. But if he's staying in shape, which Lane Johnson is, he just built his shed. So inside the shed is his own weight room now. So he's on top of his body. He'll be able to play till late 30s. No excuse. Jason Kelsey, you can start making a case for him that it's getting close with him not being around so much longer. Okay. But Brandon Graham, 31 years old. Okay, we can go another, say, 2 years, 2.5 more years with him, and we value him in the locker room anyway. So he may not give you top notch production, but he gives you top notch production in the locker room. That right there is worth the pay for what we're paying him. Next assignment, we'll go to the list of free agents. I called out some of the free agents, but we'll look at it. Nate Sudfeld, free agent. Probably do a little bit better, but they love him at the building. Smart guy. Kyle Luletta is here, so you have two young guys that you'll have to make a decision on. I can see the team bringing him back, unless the money doesn't work out. He should be back. Jordan Howard, free agent. Darren Sproles, free agent. Corey Clement, restricted free agent. Smallwood is done. Adams is done. Nelson Aguilar won't be here next year. Jason Peters won't be here next year. Big V. Now, Big V is a big piece of the puzzle here, because now your starting left tackle moving forward is going to be Dillard, young guy. Starting left guard, Sayamalo, young guy. Kelsey, center. Brandon Brooks, be 31 next year. Lane Johnson, he'll be back. So Big V gives you protection to the last two, Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson. So unless the money is just through the roof, we're not letting Big V out of here. We obviously didn't trade him today because you're going to have to offer a big deal to get Big V out of here. So he's not just going to walk out the building. We're not just going to get rid of him. We're not going to not re-sign him. He's going to be back here next year. He's the most valuable backup lineman that we have. He's an asset, and he gives you protection on Brandon Brooks and protection on Lane Johnson. So that guy is coming back. Let's continue. Wisniewski out. Vinny Curry's a nice guy. You can make the case that he doesn't need to be here. We already have Avery. So the way we build our team here in Philadelphia, to make it clear, we build through the offensive line and we build through the defensive line. Here on the defensive line, at one position, is the defensive end group. Brandon Graham, back. Derek Barnett, back. The kid Avery we just traded for from Cleveland will be back. That's three guys already that are going to be here no matter what next year. So it's either going to be a draft pick or it's going to be Vinny Curry coming back. And if it's a draft pick, well, then you have Sharif Miller. You have Josh Sweat. Say a young 5th round draft pick. Is there a need for that? No. So you're not wasting a first or second round pick on defensive end. You're not also wasting a first round or second round pick on a offensive tackle or offensive guard unless they make the decision that Brandon Brooks is or Lane Johnson is going to be tradable to bring back a major player. If that's the case, then you have to now draft that. I don't see that happening because you have Big V here already. You have Matt Pryor here already. So you're not going to be wasting a first or second round pick on that. That's already out. Let's just make that very clear. So that's two positions right there on this team that we just ironed out moving forward where what this is going to look like. The last group is defensive tackle, and I'll get to that as I call out these free agents. So let's get back to our assignment. Timmy Jernigan. That's pretty funny because I was just bringing up defensive tackle. Timmy Jernigan, always hurt. So we already restructured, so he's not coming back. So there's your answer. But Malik Jackson is coming back. He hasn't played. He only played a game and a half, but he's coming back. That contract, he's coming back. So next year you're going to have Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, and then one of the group of Hassan Ridgeway. We bring him back. He's a free agent. He just got hurt. So that might just drop him down a couple of notches. The kid Hector, or some of the other young kids that we signed along the way last week. So we just dissected this so that now we can see you're not bringing back Timmy Jernigan. So you can make the case now a first or second round pick is going to be added at the defensive tackle unit. That's where my mind is. There's no expectation that he has to come in from day one being a first or second round pick because you have Fletcher and you have Malik Jackson. If he goes over and beyond those expectations and we happen to so get one of these now great young linemen, great. He plays next to Fletcher Cox, and we have a veteran behind him to groom him along with Fletcher Cox to groom him with. Great. It's a win-win. Expect a first or second round pick to be put into the defensive tackle position. Let's move forward. Hassan Ridgeway, I just said it. He's a free agent. He just got hurt. He was playing into a contract. He may have played himself out now. Trayvon Hester probably won't be back. Nigel Bradham and Guji Hill. Now, we already got rid of Brown and Warlow, so they're already out. Well, Nigel Bradham was getting a little older, so you can make the case, and now he's getting beat up. He's getting a little slower. You can't put him in sub packages when now you have to, when you go from playing three linebackers. So in a 4-3, you're going outside linebacker, middle linebacker, outside linebacker. When you go sub packages, when a team wants to pass the ball, i.e. the Green Bay Packers, New England Patriots coming up, you're going to now have to remove one of the three linebackers and go two linebackers with five defensive backs. That includes your safeties, maybe six. So in those sub packages, Nigel Bradham doesn't play. So right there, he doesn't fit the way the game is going in football. But Guji Hill does. He's young, he's fast, he's athletic. He's a 3-down linebacker in today's football. He can run, he can play the run, he can play the pass, he can play in your normal base D. 4-3 is our base. He can play in sub packages. I just explained the sub package. He can play in your nickels. He can play in your dime sets. So he's worth putting the money into and coming back. And there's three parts to a football team: offense, defense, and special teams. Can't forget that. He's also a great special teamer. So out of the three groups of a football team, he's a starting outside linebacker, and he's a starter on all our special teams. That's two of the three positional groups on the team. He's coming back next year. Plain and simple. Nigel Bradham is not coming back. I shouldn't say he's not coming back. I'll get into a discussion into if he does or if he doesn't, and that all deals with the draft. LJ Fort's already gone. Now your two starting corners, Mills and Darby. Well, they all love the young kid, Jalen Mills. He's coming back. So you can make him a franchise player. So you can franchise tag him, and it enforces him that the only way he leaves is if a team comes in and offers you first round picks plus whatever else for being tagged as a franchise player. And then you have to then pay him in a top 5 bracket at his position, and it is his corner. No other team's going to come in here and do that, especially he started the year out on the PUP list, and he just came back. So you can make the case he's not leaving the building. He's not leaving Philly next year. He's coming back. Now Ronald Darby is out. So going back to the draft, where you have to save all your draft picks. Well, this is also a team that doesn't draft corners. So to let everyone else out there know, especially when you have the other younger guys under these two. So Darby's out. You have youth behind now Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills is your 1, your 2, whatever you want to name him. He takes one spot. We can get in an argument if he's a safety anyway. Whatever. For right now, he's back. Do you draft a guy? Well, again, this is a team that doesn't draft corners. So my expectation is we're not going out into the draft drafting a guy first, second overall. We're not first pick, first round or second round. We're not using some of those resources on that position. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We will go out, either sign a guy or we'll go out and make a trade to bring in another guy, just like we did with Ronald Darby. So that's our expectation right there. Let's continue. Cravon LeBlanc. Skandrick is gone already. So you can make the case that LeBlanc is playing for a position next year. And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help that he's been hurt. So I can see a third, a fourth, or a fifth, especially a third. I can see a third round pick being used on a really good corner that's still left on the board, replacing LeBlanc. We'll continue. Rodney McLeod. So this starts another conversation, but before I do, since I was at the end of the list, let me run out the last of it. Trey Sullivan won't be back. Sendejo won't be back. Jake Elliott will be back. Levedo, our long snapper, will be back, and Cam Johnson will be back. I mean, that's a little scary too. I mean, some more money is going to be put into 2 starters, our kicker and our punter. You're not. You can. Jake Elliott is having a good year right now, so he's playing for his contract. You can make the case that he's coming back, and Cam Johnson has proved that you found a really good kicker or punter. He's coming back. So let's get back to the whole, safety position. Do you bring back Rodney McLeod? Well, you have Malcolm Jenkins. Okay, So the expectation is Malcolm Jenkins isn't coming back. So now to get back into the conversation of base defense and then our sub packages, you know, we can us the Eagles can afford to go a lot more in our sub packages because we have a safety in Malcolm Jenkins who happens to play at this point of his career like a linebacker. He plays up at the line. He plays the running game. He's not really found in coverage. You'll find him in coverage, but we like him up near the line of scrimmage. He's a blitzer for us. So he's a main contributor in the run D. Why our run D is so good because we're running him up to the line of scrimmage, acting like a linebacker to go with our other guys who will be next to him at that linebacker position. So and then you have a Rodney McLeod who's the complete opposite. You find him in coverage. You can say that maybe it's him that's breaking down the D in the communication on some of these deep balls. You know, you can make the case that maybe Malcolm Jenkins should be back there, but that's another conversation for another day. But the decision is going to be: can you find a young safety that plays the game like Malcolm Jenkins? And if you do, you're going to waste a first or a second round pick definitely on that type of guy because it's evident that they do not want Malcolm Jenkins back here next year. But you can always fix that relationship because he's already been bickering about wanting to rip up his contract and give him a new one. He wants his last contract before he retires. Is he worth it? Again, another day, another time. But the decision on that draft pick at that position is going to come down. Do you want to find a guy in college football that waste a first or second round pick that plays that position like a Malcolm Jenkins? You either draft one or you trade for one. The easy example is Jamal Adams from the New York Jets. He plays the same type of game as Malcolm Jenkins. Now, thankfully, he wasn't traded to Dallas today. That would have been a major problem moving forward. But if they were willing to make a trade now, then they will be willing to make a trade in the offseason. Since he didn't get traded today, it affords us, the Eagles, us fans, a better chance of making that happen because now we'll have certain pieces to throw them. We'll have players, we'll have resources to trade at the Jets to make a trade like that happen. We can always rehash that another day, but that's the option. Or you draft a guy. Now, one that comes to mind is Delpit from LSU. But you're not going to be up in the draft when I say up in the draft, you're not going to be drafting top 10. Delpit is a top 10 talent. So someone behind him who's available, is there a guy that can play like that? Do we believe in our scouting department and Howie Roseman to make that decision? That's the hairy piece to this. Now, the flip side is, can we find a corner that can play out in coverage? If not, you're drafting one, or you're going to go ahead and re-sign, or you're going to go out and make a trade. Now, you can make the case that you would want to keep him and he'd be willing to take less to stay here in Rodney McLeod. But you could find more safeties in the draft that play this style than the Malcolm Jenkins style a little easier. If it was me, I would let Rodney McLeod walk. Sendejo will not be here. He may not be here come week 10 because of comp picks and certain things going on behind the scenes in those contracts. So you can make the case that a lot of our draft resources and maybe a trade is going to get put into this safety position. This safety position coming next year, along with the two starting corners, is a major, major, major problem. Now, for everyone out there that says, oh, well, it's great that we didn't trade at the trading deadline and up to this point and give away a lot of these, resources in the draft because great, there's an issue that's coming next year, corner and safety. Both positions have to be figured out. We have a lot of free agents in that. We have three. We have one guy that wants to rip up a contract, Malcolm. Four major pieces to the defense. That is a major problem, especially we haven't drafted a guy to come in and supplant any of these four guys. Sidney Jones was the guy who was drafted to do that, and he bottomed out. You can't rely on Craig James. You can't rely on Maddox, and you can't rely on LeBlanc. We first have to re-sign LeBlanc. Sendejo, another backup, is out. Rudy Ford, he's just a special team. You can find another 5 Rudy Fords along the way. This is a major problem. Major problem. So you can bet your bottom dollar that a lot of this draft is going to be put into the corners and the safeties. And if it's not going to be done in the draft, a lot of the trading is going to be done for the corners and for the safeties. And then let's flip it over to the offense. Well, you can't get rid of Alshon Jeffrey because the contract is over $20 million guaranteed next year. Unless someone comes in and is willing to do you a favor and eat half of that contract, he's not going anywhere. So for now, at least another year, he's not going anywhere. He's just not. At least up to the next trading deadline next year, to the point where someone might just eat the remaining balance on that contract. No one's going to take him off our hands. The only one that they will take off our hands is DeSean Jackson. And hopefully this whole sports hernia thing gets fixed in the offseason. He had a chance to take the surgery and he declined it. You can blame whoever for that, but it should have been dealt with now. He should be 100% now. He chose not to. His people chose not to. His agent said no, whatever the case may be. But the guy is not going to play the rest of the year at 100%. So now we're taking a chance. And he's willing to play against Chicago this week. Why? It goes into the whole Drew Brees conversation this past week. Knowing that you have a bye the following week, you have a guy coming off surgery. Why are you putting him on the field? It's called a gamble. They're gambling. Just you would do at the casino. The Saints gambled, and they won. So be it. Congratulations. Good job, Saints. You're lucky. Now, it doesn't mean that every time a team does this, you're going to succeed like the Saints. Now, we find ourselves in the same situation. I only hope that we're so lucky as the Saints were this week that DeSean Jackson, knowing we have a bye next week, can get through this game with the Chicago Bears, stay healthy, get healthier, and then make a run with them for the remaining of the year. Your tight ends are going nowhere next year. So that leaves your running back spot. And it makes sense why they were going to be involved with Le'Veon Bell. It wouldn't surprise me if his name pops up in the offseason again. It really doesn't. Because you have Jordan Howard, who's a free agent. You have Corey Clement, who's a free agent. The only guy here is your young guy in Miles Sanders. And is he able to carry the load? No. And we already learned one thing already from Doug Peterson. He's not a one running back bell cow guy. Bell cow means 20 plus carries, game in, and game out. That's not that type of situation here in Philadelphia. We run out 2, 3, 4 different guys. So unless we're re-signing Jordan Howard, who you can make the case again, we should. We're bringing in someone new again next year. And most likely drafting another guy. Because it just showed this year that Corey Clement can't stay healthy. It's a shame. He won us a Super Bowl. It's great. Great story. Undrafted, local kid, Glassboro kid. But he may not be here next year. So now you can start seeing some of where the resources are going to go, some of where the money's going to go, where our trades are going to be zeroed in on. 3 big positions that are going to have to be filled. First with the corners, second with the safeties, third being the defensive tackle position. Along the way, you have to fill out the receivers and the running backs. But this time now, up to now, was a time where you could have had a jump start on all of that. It's why I've been pleading for Howie Roseman to make trades. Yeah, it would have been great to get the guys that I've been calling out. That would have been great. But I had a view to next year already in that. I wanted guys that were here moving forward. I really wasn't wanting guys that were here for only a year. And if so, maybe a handful of guys. One being Robbie Anderson, a young kid on his last year of his deal coming in. It would have been cheap. You were looking at $3 million for the remainder of this year to have Robbie Anderson come in, be a speed receiver, what you need right now. So be it if DeSean Jackson comes back or not. If he does, fine. You have now 2. But it would have been a guy that you could have re-signed next year easy. But I didn't want a bunch of those guys. It makes sense why Darius Slay made sense and why his name was attached to us, because he had a contract moving forward beyond this year. Geno Atkins made sense because he had, now it was a lot of money, but he had a contract going into next year. You could address some of these issues, some of these needs positionally now, while adding to the morale of the team, allowing your players, some of your key veterans, the old guys. We're an old team. No, we have a few old guys. You could allow them to say, man, okay, now our team is going for it. Man, they just brought in some big-time guys. Great. They don't want to hear about saving draft picks and, the Brandon Grahams and the Kelseys and the Ertzes and Jason Peters now and Sproles and Malcolm Jenkins and Nigel Bradham. They're not interested in, oh, well, we're saving our draft picks till next year. They don't want to hear that. They want to win right now. That's the mood that they should all be in. And our front office isn't. And some of our fans aren't either. But when you start talking about it and hashing out some of these discussions, now when you start outlining some of these blueprints, you start making sense of it all. Yeah, some of those trades, like a Jalen Ramsey, you had a very clear-cut way of addressing needs now. Now, that's a guy that you had to re-sign. I get that. But you could have addressed these issues now. They were available now. That doesn't mean the same names that you hear now are available next year. It's not a guarantee. And if they're not available, then what? It's called a major drop-off. So I'm very hot about this whole Eagles situation and the non-movement of our team. Just going ahead and making one move, and that's the Avery move. Even though I like it only as like a package guy. That's all he is. He's going to be play certain downs, third down. We'll put him in there, and tell him one thing and one thing only: attack the quarterback. And that's it. That's his only job the remainder of the year till he gets with us in the OTAs and the training camps and the preseason games and really learns what we want with him. He's going to have one job and one job only, because darn it, he's the only guy on the team beyond our two starters that can do that. So that's our topic right there with the Eagles. Again, we have a big game coming up with the Bears this weekend. Yes, it's a home game, but it's a major game. We need to win this NFC game. It could be an ugly game to watch. This defense with Chicago is young and athletic. Their front seven, basically their starting group as a whole, is athletic and fast. They can cover, they can run, they have speed. We're deficient in speed. So it's going to be a challenge. I really hope our defense comes to play. Hopefully we can cause turnovers, maybe score on one of those turnovers. It'd be nice to see our special teams have a great day. Field position is going to play a big role in this game. So Johnson's going to have a great game punting the ball. Hopefully we can make a couple, not calling for a touchdown, but it'd be great to return one or two of the punts and give it and flip the field. It'd be great to set us up. It's going to take all that to win this game this week. So that's the Eagles. And then we have the Sixers that just moved on to 3-0. Great game last night. It's a game that they would have lost. They did lose last year. They didn't beat that Atlanta team last year. I believe they were 3-0 against the Sixers last year. So the fact that they went down in Atlanta, they played in a game where they would have lost last year, and they pulled that win out, says a lot about this team. Still moving forward after that great win. Yes, I do a little bit the last play. I like to call out of bounds on the side, calling timeout, drawing up a play to go to your big fella on the block. It was a great call for the fact that Atlanta didn't guard it the right way, And when you go back and look at it, the defender is sitting right behind Joel Embiid on the block, 5 feet from the rim. So where do you think everyone in the gym knew where that ball was going? It was going right down there to the big fella on the block, and he did his job. He got fouled, and then he knocked down the 2 foul shots. Went 10 for 10 from the foul line last night. That's great. A big guy like that, able to make foul shots. Can't say enough about that. That's great. Just hope that they find themselves. They can find an offensive groove. Get Tobias going. They need to get Tobias Harris going. They need his production. He came up big at the end of the game last night, but they need his production every quarter of the night. They need him to produce. So we need to get him going. 3-0, only team in the East that's undefeated. That's great. We have a little things to iron out. Teams are starting to put on the other end of the court. They're putting Al Horford in a lot of ball screens last night, and he's showing that his age and lack of athleticism is lacking now, because when he's putting these ball screens, he's sinking back. He's not even coming out and playing it. So now, yeah, we got away with it with Trae Young last night, but once we start playing the Kyries and the Russell Westbrooks and the Hardens and the LeBrons and some of these teams, the Kyle Lowry's of the world, Bledsoe's of the world, Victor Oladipo when he gets back, Malcolm Brogdon, both of them are on the Pacers. Once we start playing these serious teams with some really good guards, that deficiency right there in guarding the ball screen, specifically addressing that whole Al Horford thing, man, teams are going to keep putting him in these ball screens, and we need to figure out that real quick. So keep an eye on that as you watch the Sixers and trying to give you some certain things to look for in the game. We need Tobias to get his game off. We need Al Horford to guard these ball screens a little bit better. But moving forward, I'm excited, still a little excited. So a lot of good things going on in Philly, and we're getting really close to the start of college basketball. That I can't wait for that. That time is here. It's close. D1s, D2s, D3s are going to be kicking off soon. So that's great. Teams are wrapping up all their scrimmages and exhibitions, and I can't wait for the first night of college basketball. College football is here and coming up this weekend. Got a couple of big games, nothing like the LSU Alabama game that is coming up. That's a major game. Everyone should tune in. You may find yourself looking at a future Eagle or two. So that's it. That's the show. Moving forward, we have interviews coming up. Your favorite barista is in conversation about joining another show moving forward next week. So keep an eye out for that. I will release the information once I uh, agree to the principles of that little contract. Once I agree to it, I will release the information for all the fans out there listening, everyone tuning in. I will release that for you so that you guys can tune in. That will be a great show. And then for everyone else out there that's listening and tuning in, if you want your favorite barista to come out to you, all you got to do is just contact me. You can email me. You can contact the show when I go live. Just hit me. Tell me where you like to meet. We can even go to your house. You make coffee, I show. You buy coffee, I show. It's really easy. You gotta supply the barista some coffee, and I'll come and we'll sit down and have a great sports talk. I'm also thinking about doing an Eagles roundtable with a few other guys, so that would be great. So a lot of exciting things going on here with the show and your favorite barista sports talk. Again, coming to you live and uncut, and as always, unfiltered. And again, until next time, enjoy your cup of coffee.